think?
A mountain.
A mountain? Don't know Mummy's light over. We've been down that road before, haven't we?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a 2019 film directed by Andre Overdrell, based on a series of short stories written by Alvin Schwartz. Many brilliant fellow YouTube makeup artists have created looks from the film. I found that most people tended to do the spider bite scene, which is rather iconic and also easy for you guys to recreate at home. I actually did this look myself. If you've not seen it, I will link all the artists I'm featuring here down below. Go check out their videos, they're all amazing. But like I say, this was one of the easier looks in the film to recreate. A lot of the monsters had extremely complex prosthetics, expertly, brilliantly done. As you can see, Ellie Max did attempt the toeless corpse and made a very good job of it, I think. But nobody had done the Pale Lady. With the exception of the Vin FX, big up that man, he did an amazing job. However, he actually created his look based on the illustrations and brought his tutorial out before the film came out. The original characters in the book were brought to life by the amazing illustrator Stephen Gamble, and when it came to bringing them to life on the big screen, they were created by the hugely talented team over at Spectral Motion. And all the characters were either complex prosthetics or creature suits, and the Pale Lady was a creature suit, so she was not an easy one to recreate. So, as you can imagine, there was a very good reason why nobody else has really attempted this makeup, but me being me and being very overly ambitious, sometimes to my detriment, but hey, you know, you get big things on this channel. Me being me, I thought, right, I love the character, I'm just going to give it a go, and I did, and I was actually pretty pleased with how it came out. Now, obviously, I was creating this look as a makeup and not a creature suit, so I did have to work with my own anatomy, and my eyes aren't as far apart as the Pale Lady's. So I had to employ a certain amount of trickery when sculpting the piece for the upper face area. So I did this by first placing some balls of clay over the eyes on my face cast and then actually sculpting the prosthetic so that it partially covered the inner corners of both my eyes. This gave the illusion of the eyes being slightly further apart. So once I was happy with the basic shape of the upper face prosthetic, I smoothed out the clay and then went about just refining some of the details, so creating the shapes around the eyes and just refining that nose shape. Incidentally, I used oven baked clay, Sculpting to be exact, basically because that was what I had to hand, but you can use whatever clay you happen to have. The one problem with Sculpting is you can't really get it really smooth and create really fine details, but it worked for what we're using it for here. I just added a couple of snakes of clay just to create a slightly higher up bridge across the nose because the shape wasn't quite how I wanted it to look. Now, probably the most recognisable part of the Pale Lady is actually her wide, creepy smile. Now, I did originally start by trying to create this as a prosthetic, but unfortunately it just didn't really work. It kind of just ended up just looking wrong. It just looked wrong. It looked rubbish, quite frankly. So I took it off and decided to create that makeup out of kit. So I created it during the application process, which you will see in the second part of the video. Now here you can just see me creating the cheekbones and then just texturizing a little bit with an old toothbrush. Incidentally, I took the executive decision to make this tutorial in 2 parts because otherwise the video would have been about 40 minutes long and ain't nobody got time for that. Anyway, on to latex. So you just want to stipple your latex over your sculpt. Great sound effects, hey. Anyway, so yeah, stipple on probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 layers of latex and let each one dry in between. And then you just want to add some layers of cotton wool just to give more of a seamless blend between the edge of that clay and the edge of your prosthetic so that it blends into your skin a little bit better when you apply. This is a very simple way of making prosthetics. Ordinarily in the industry, what we would do is we would sculpt the prosthetics, we would take a mold, and then we would then run the prosthetics in either foam latex or encapsulated silicone. But this is a nice, simple, easy way of making simple latex prosthetics at home. So you can see here I'm just using the latex and cotton wool to create that smooth transition from the sculpt down onto the face cast so that you get a nice smooth line. And then you would just want to remove your prosthetic once it's all completely dry. Use plenty of talc because latex has a nasty habit of sticking to itself and you don't want that. Now, once I actually took the prosthetic off, I did realise that it was a little bit too thin and it wasn't really going to hold its shape. So I did have to reinforce mine a little, which you will see in a moment. And now you can avoid this by painting on more layers of latex than I did. However, with more raised areas like the cheekbones, you will still need that reinforcement. And I actually found that by doing the reinforcement, it added a little bit of nice skin texture too. So I simply just put very thin wisps of cotton wool over and dabbed some latex over and then smoothed that down with a spatula. It was almost a little bit like frosting a cake. There we go with that squelchy sound effect again. And then with the cheekbones, I simply put some latex and cotton wool on the inside of the prosthetics just to reinforce it a little and make it stand up, because it does stand away from the face quite a bit. So you just need it to be a little bit stronger in these areas. Now that the prosthetic is looking a little darker, you can see more clearly how I've sculpted it so that it covers the inner part of the eyes to give that illusion of the further apart eyes. Now, this very aspect of the creature design actually caused problems for the team over at Spectral Motion as well. As explained in this article here on Stan Winston's School of Character Art's website, they explained there was an issue of where the eyes were. They're too far apart for a human, so we had to create little peepholes for Mark to be able to see where he was going. Mark was the wonderful actor that was in the creature suit. Now, obviously, I had to, as I said earlier, work with my own anatomy, so I just had to use a little bit of illusion to try and make my eyes look further apart, and I think I did a pretty good job. It's obviously not exactly the same as the character in the film, but, you know, we have to work with what we have. Now, when it came to the paint job, I simply stippled on layers of colour with yellows, blues and whites to recreate the pale lady's sickly skin tone, and I also painted on some little blue veins around her nose as well. I use alcohol paints for this, but you could use cream paints or Pax paints.
Hey, my beauty.
Hello, Mommy.
Mummy painting.
Mommy, painting?
Yeah.
Wow. Mommy, where are you?
Here I am, how do you do? What do you think?
A mountain.
A mountain? Don't knock Mummy's light over. We've been down that road before, haven't we? Are you hiding?
Here I am, I got you.
Daisy, don't knock Mummy's lights and camera over, please.
So there we have it, the finished prosthetics. Check out the next installment where we apply the prosthetics. And I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. It helps me out loads in the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you for watching.